Hi everyone. Today we're going to talk about tint applications, and specifically today we're going to talk about a tint retouch application. So what does that mean? So what you would do a retouch, who you would do a retouch application on is someone who you've colored their hair before, or maybe they've had their hair colored before. I do this a lot for my mom. Unfortunately, because of COVID, I can't use her as a model, but I do have got a mannequin here that I can show you how to do a tint retouch. So what do we need for a retouch? A tint bowl, a tint brush, 4 clips. I've got 4 clips here, and your color, or in this case today I'm going to use some conditioner, which is what you would be using in the classroom as well, just to practice for the first time, second time, that kind of thing, until you've mastered the skill and speed, and then you could use actual hair color. So what I've done here so far on my mannequin is I've sectioned her off into 4 quadrants, right? So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I've sectioned straight down the center, all the way down the back, and then where the head starts to round off and behind the ear on both sides. So that makes our 4 sections. All right. So to start with a tint retouch application, you have to imagine that she's got some regrowth happening in her hair. So what does regrowth mean? She's got roots. Okay, so the rest of her hair has been colored, and she's showing some roots, and she's just back here to get her roots touched up so that her hair color is all uniform and the same. So that's what we're doing today. So you just have to sort of imagine that there are roots there. All right, so what we do, now if this was real hair color, I would wear gloves, right? So that's a safety feature for ourselves, and also so that our hands don't get all murky and stained with color. The other thing we could do, if you were doing a very vibrant color or a super dark color, or reds, especially because they like to stain the skin, you would use a barrier cream all around the perimeter of the hairline and around the ears, and that would just protect your client from staining, and it would help you at the end, so that you don't have to start scrubbing with a stain remover, which most stain removers don't work that well anyway. So barrier cream, gloves if you're doing real color, and we're off to the races. So we are going to start. I've got a trolley here. Trolleys are really helpful as well, but if you don't have a trolley, a counter is great too. So when you do a tint retouch, you want to start around the hairline. So the perimeter hairline all the way around. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my tint brush, I'm going to apply some color to it, conditioner in this case, and I'm going to go, I'm just going to move this clip out of the way, around the perimeter and make sure that I'm getting all of her roots. So I'm starting at the front hairline. Now, I like to start at the front hairline, especially when I'm doing my mom's hair, because she's got a lot of gray, and we want that fresh color to be on that gray hair for as long as possible. So I'm gonna go around the front hairline and try not to paint the forehead, all the way around. Because she's a mannequin, I can just lift her up to get around the perimeter. And I'm just going to move that out of the way. So I'm just going around the perimeter here and doing about 1 inch, because that's how much her color has grown out. Great. Once I have done the perimeter around the whole front hairline and the back, I will now color around the perimeter of each quadrant. So I'm going to go around this quadrant, again, 1 inch of color. Back here. So I'm going around this quadrant. Coloring around that quadrant, and then I'm going to do the other front quadrant. Again, I'm I'm just doing about an inch because I'm just coloring her roots. And then you're going to imagine that I'm doing around the back quadrants as well. Again, I like to do the front 2 quadrants first because I want that color to stay on for as long as possible. Now, to start, you'll notice I took down one here. I'm just going to tighten up this back one back here. To start, what you're going to do is you're going to use the end of your tint brush, so it's got a point to it, and you're going to come across the whole top section here. And you're going to take a nice thin section and you're going to push that color through that you had done around the perimeter, and then you're going to apply new color on this side. Again, just coloring the roots, and it's super important to keep smooth, clean sections to ensure that you're coloring all of the hair. Okay, you don't want to leave out any hair. So I'm going to push through the color that I just did. And if there's no color pushing through, one of 2 things. 1, your section is either too thick, or 2, you did not apply enough color when you did this part right here. So I've put enough color on there so that when I go and take my nice section, again, thin section, all the way across, I can push through the color onto the other side. So that makes sure that you're coloring everything, right? So I'm applying, and then I am coming through, flipping over, pushing the color through, and then applying fresh color. So if this was a full color, full head of virgin hair and you're coloring the entire head, you could still start like this. So you would push through all the color onto the roots first, and then you would go back and take each section again and color all the hair ends and smush it through, massage it in, okay? But for this video, we are just doing a tint retouch on the roots because her color has grown out a little bit. It's been about 4 to 6 weeks and she needs a refresh. So we're doing the roots, taking a section all the way across, pulling it through the other side, and then applying some more color on this part. Again, coming all the way across, push through, and applying. Now, the technique itself is simple enough. Where you can go wrong here is if you have a client with super light hair and you're making it dark, let's say. If you miss a chunk, you'll end up with splotches of light and dark, and it won't look good at all. So this is why we take our time to take nice thin sections. We ensure that the color is pushing through, so that means you've saturated the hair enough with color that it will make that difference, okay? And if your client has gray hair, you definitely don't want to miss out on a section. Now this one, I've done the perimeter, there's enough color there that I just need to push through, so that's what's happening there, and that's why you don't see me reapplying any color there. But yes, if they have gray hair, and this is the front hairline, they do not want to see that gray hair. Now, once you have finished that quadrant, what you're going to do is you're going to flip back, and you'll notice that I'm just letting it fall because color oxidizes with the air. We need those air pockets. We don't need to smush the hair super, super tight. And then you're going to prevent the oxygen from making that hair color work. So you want to make sure that you're leaving enough air pockets so that the color is doing its thing. So you're going to flip everything back and you're going to move on to the next quadrant. So if you're starting at the front here, then you need to continue with the front, okay? The other reason I like to start with the front, so can get this angle here. The other reason I like to start with the front is, you know, there have been situations where you've got maybe a tube of color and you have no idea how much color you need for your client. If you're covering the front, then you've got your bases covered in case you run out of color in the back, and you might, you know, have a little spot back here where you're scrounging and you're smushing and you're trying to rub that color in to blend it in. The last place you want to be scrounging and be hopeful for color is at the front where they can actually see it. So really, really important. Cover that front and top back area as quickly as possible, and save the back for last. That is just my personal opinion. I mean, obviously you shouldn't run out of color, but I am running out of conditioner, so I will have to add some more to my bowl. So let's just say we've completed that. So I've taken my thin section. So you're doing the same thing on this side as you did on the other side. Thin sections, push the color through so that you know you have saturated and that you applied enough color the first time, and then apply more color onto this section. Once you've completed this quadrant, you flip the hair back and you leave those air pockets to breathe. And I'll show you what that looks like. So you can see the sections, you can see the air pockets because it's not laying flat to the head. Okay. Often if it starts to drop, I will use the end of my tint brush to just make those air pockets lift, and there you have it. Now, going back to when I said if you were coloring the entire head, so this is just doing a root touch-up. Let's say we've completed all 4 quadrants, because you're just doing the same thing on 4 quadrants. So you're starting at the top at the back and you're flipping over, and then you flip everything back. But once that is completed and you want to color the whole thing, what you'll do is you'll flip everything forward and you'll start at the bottom. And again, you'll want to have gloves for this, but you'll take that last panel and you'll take your hair color and you'll apply a generous amount, and with your hands, gloved hands, you'll massage that color in. Okay, run it through, and then you'll take the next section down and do the same thing. Okay, so you'll take your next thin section, you'll apply the color, you'll massage it in, run it through. The more you massage it in, the more you're sure that it's in there, okay? And you repeat that process on this side, again, the other side on the front, until all the hair is saturated. At the end, again, you do not want to smush the hair into a ball so that the air can't get to it. I always add air pockets by using the end of my tint brush to let it process, okay? You set your timer according to the manufacturer's directions, 35, 45 minutes, depending on what they recommend. And then a good shampoo, conditioner, and she's all set to go to be styled. And that, my friends, is a tint retouch. Thanks.